What's good, YouTube? Ben here. Welcome to the next video on the channel. In this one, I'm going to give you my next Steel Path Viber build on Warframe. This is going to be for Cedo Prime. Let's get into this. Right, so Cedo Prime, of course, came out with the Lavos update a little while ago. I've only just got around to building it and putting a build on it. So, the unique trait of the weapon is the alternate fire launches a bouncing glaive with guaranteed status chance. Primary fire deals 60% additional damage for each status effect on the target. And then with Lavos, it converts secondary ammo pickups to 50% of shotgun ammo when wielded by Lavos directly. We're not using Lavos, but it's a good one to see. We've got Galvanized Health for 110% multi-shot on kill, plus 30% multi-shot for 20 seconds stacks up to 4 times. Galvanized Savvy for 80% status chance and on kill, plus 40% direct damage per status type effect in the target for 20 seconds stacks up to 2 times. Hunter Munitions for 30% chance to apply slash procs on criticals. Critical Deceleration for 200% critical chance and negative 20% fire rate. Ravage for 60% critical damage. Shotgun Elementalist for 90% damage and 60% magazine capacity. Frigid Blast for 60% cold and 60% status chance. And Toxic Barrage with 60% toxin and 60% status chance. Galvanized Acceleration for 30% projectile speed and 30% beam range. And on kill plus 30% projectile speed and 30% beam range for 10 seconds stacks up to 2 times. And we've got Primary Merciless in the Arcane slot at rank 5, on kill plus 30% damage for 4 seconds stacks up to 12 times with 30% reload speed. Now, before we jump into the mission, I'm going to label this as a Steel Path Viber build as always, because it is viable for you to get through the Steel Path on, but is it going to get you to level cap, which is level 9,999 enemies? Probably not, but it will do you for general Steel Path. Not to mention, we're going to be at Oxsmoker in the Void, which deals with the Corrupted. And with the Corrupted, you're dealing with enemies with just health, enemies with health and shields, enemies with high armor, giving you a more varied example of what your weapon/Warframe can do. So, let's jump into the mission. I'll show you what this thing can do. Alright, let's jump straight in. So, I'm going to activate my Gloom on Atlas so that I can stay alive, because Gloom. But, as you can see, we just started and we're already absolutely ripping through enemies thanks to the status damage buffs from our mods and from the general criticals that we're going to land as well. And of course, as usual, you will get higher crits based upon headshots as well. Like, more damage generally if you hit headshots. But the glaive, as you can see, you can fire it very frequently, and because of the mods we're running with Shotgun Elementalist and with I can't remember the name of the Galvanized mod for status, you're getting a lot more damage with that glaive than you would have done otherwise. Which the glaive is going to be the main way you're going to deal with enemies because of the status it delivers, because it hits a bunch of different statuses at the same time, and because it bounces, it's going to bounce between enemies quite, like, quickly. So if you've got, like, a load of enemies in one space, it's going to bounce between them, cause a lot of status, at which time you can literally just run in with your shotgun's main blast and take them out the rest of the way. Not to mention, because the glaive can hit crits too, Hunter Munitions can also proc off of the glaive itself, not just from the shotgun. Meaning that you're able to get criticals and Hunter Munitions procs directly from the glaive too. But you'll also get the status damage. Let's say you're dealing heat, you're going to hit burn as well, guaranteed status. So it's going to start ripping through enemies that way. Same with toxic. Another thing I want to point out as well, so I get a lot of comments on my build saying that they're not optimal because of a YouTuber doing it this way, and I'm like, okay, great. My problem with that is, so I don't watch other YouTubers for Warframe, specifically for builds. I don't. Like, for me, I'll look at a Warframe or a weapon, I'll have a look at its stats, and then I'll go from that and see what I think will work based upon that, and then test it myself. So the builds that I do, no one else is going to do those builds because they're builds that I specifically do. Unless, of course, it's a magical coincidence. But I do want to point that out because a lot of people are just like, you know, that it's not optimal. It may not be optimal, but it works. And that's what I go for, which is why I label my builds as Steel Path viable builds, because they're viable to use. Are they probably the most meta way or the most optimal way? Probably not. But do they work? Yes. So I've never had a build for a weapon that I've done not work. In fact, if I found a better way to build a weapon, I will do an updated version of the build, which I've done several times, especially for weapons like Arc Plasma, which I came up with a much better way of building it, so I did an updated build for it. I've done it with a few different Warframes and weapons. In fact, the build prior to this one that I uploaded was a rebuild for Cedo Prime, because of recent updates giving her Excellence weapons, or what are they called, her Warframe weapons, more power. So, of course, I've done a rebuild because the old build then becomes obsolete. But I do want to point that out because a lot of people don't seem to get it. So I do want to point it to make sure that people know exactly what I go for. Because the thing is, right, if I did the same build as, let's say, I don't know, let's say a YouTuber that does Warframe videos, Nightmare Frame, right? If I did the same videos as that person, what's the point? I'm just regurgitating content that they've done. Not to mention I would then kind of be labeled a content thief because I've copied and stolen their content. Now, for me, I'm not going to do that. And I don't just actively avoid the builds as well. Like, I don't watch their videos for it. So I don't copy it. If it ends up similar, it's just because of the way I've decided to build the weapon. Not so much that I've been copying someone else, because I don't do that. But I just want to get that point across so that people know exactly why I build weapons the way I do. And sure, it may not be optimal, but it works. And that's what I go for. If the build works, I will use it. But we'll stay in the mission long enough to get to the Acolyte, just so you can see what this does to Acolytes. Spoiler alert, it works pretty darned well against them. So, that is not an issue for me. But as you can see, we're ripping through everything, even the heavily armored units. Because of the damage you're dealing with the status, you're able to just shred through pretty much everything. Boom, there we go. Go. Boom. Very nice. The thing I love about this weapon is, though, it can be built for both crit and status because of the guaranteed status. Like, Cedo's always been a broken weapon anyway because of how good it is, but the fact that it can be built both ways is great. It gives you a lot more variance of what you can and can't do with it. I need to make sure I'm not going to get ganked here because there's a good chance I'm about to get ganked. As you can see, we're able to shred through the Acolyte as quickly as we can. Boom, dead, done. So that takes out the Acolyte pretty darn quickly, as you can see. Hunter munitions, of course, proc enough to help cut through its health. And then, of course, your statuses dealing with more damage and allowing you to hit harder. But yeah, let me know what you think about this build in the comments down below. Don't forget you can support the channel completely for free just by liking, commenting, and subscribing. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. Don't forget you can also support the channel even further by becoming a channel member from as little as 99 pence per month. But don't forget, I do live stream. When I go live here on YouTube and over on Twitch. My streams here on YouTube are in the shorts form feed, small for mobile. If you want to catch the exact same streams at the exact same time in 4K80p, feel free to join me on Twitch. The link is in the description below. And don't forget you can also join in our group Discord, where we have text chats, voice chats, gaming sessions sometimes. Jump in, say hi, let me know how you're doing. But I will catch you guys in the next one.